Hey, this is DiSciullo. I'm Chris. This is MMA for you. I'm going to be doing my predictions for Bellator 123, Curran versus Pitbull 2, or Freire 2, which happens on September 5th. Same night as the Jacoby versus Mucitelli card in the UFC. So you got two really good rematches going on that Friday night. Overall, this card's actually solid. The main event's great. I actually saw Curran versus Pitbull Freire live. It was in Irvine. Great stuff. I mean, that was just a great fight. You got a lot of name value on this card. Cheick Kongo versus Lavar Johnson. That's a good fight, actually. Further level and further name value too. See, then you got Bobby Lashley, who should win his fight. King Mo's fighting as well, so it's got good name value. Prelims aren't too bad either. Steve Garcia's fighting; he's a good prospect. So now find another prospect in Kin Moy. Good fight in Brennan Ward versus Tamdan, the Barn Cat McCrory. McCrory, who's coming back to MMA since he lost in the UFC back in August 2009. Perry Filkins versus Dan Cramer is a pretty solid fight. Matt Bessette versus Scott Cleve, pretty solid fight actually. So not too bad of a card overall. Let's get started. Okay, on the main event, we have a rematch between Pat Curran and Patricio Pitbull Freire. Okay, Pat Curran has a 20-5 record, 5 wins by KO or TKO, 7 wins by sub. He's 27 years old, training out of Team Curran. He is the Bellator featherweight champion. He most recently beat Daniel Strauss in the last seconds of the 5th round. He choked him out. Really good fight there, actually. He has his strength really is his counter striking. That guy's and his defense, overall defense. Generally, he's someone that's hard to hit clean. Strauss actually managed to drop Curran, which is pretty crazy. In their 3rd fight, he's a good kickboxer, strong counter striker. Curran actually has good wrestling, both offensively and defensively. He doesn't always use his offensive wrestling, which is really unfortunate because he's good there. His takedown defense is solid as well. And his jiu-jitsu skills are actually really good. This is a guy against Shamilayev. Took his back standing, transitioned to a guillotine choke. And then get a Peruvian necktied, a Peruvian and Luis Palomino, Part of the problem with Pat Curran, though, is he generally fights at one pace. And it really is his pace, and it kind of allows his opponent to take rounds on him. He's definitely a guy that will have, in general, he's not a guy that really runs, unless he's like really outclassing his opponent. He's a guy that gives other fighters rounds just on points, because he's mainly a counter striker. And yeah, he just fights at there's just one particular pace. He doesn't always turn up the aggression when he needs to, and whatnot. I'd say that's the biggest knock on Pat Curran. Patricio Pitbull Freire, 21-2 record, 9 wins by KO or TKO, 7 wins by sub, 27 years old, on a 4-fight win streak, trains out of Team Noguera / the Pitbull Brothers. He's got some strong Muay Thai, really accurate striker too. This guy has been leaving a trail of knockouts up until this fight actually. He's got some really heavy hands. His takedown defense is really solid. He has a really underrated offensive takedown ability as well. If you want to, I think Fabricio Guerrero, he's taking him down, fighting a more conservative game plan, using offensive takedowns. Managed to take down Daniel Strauss a couple times. And he has some solid Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu as well. Pat Curran, like I said, he won their first fight by split decision. One thing I'll say is that I don't know how this fight's going to go. One thing about the first fight was that Patricio was really fighting Pat Curran's fight. Meaning there was a lot of inside boxing here. It was actually one of the best displays of inside boxing in MMA that I've seen so far from this fight. You know, they were just going more on the inside, attacking more on the inside, defending, counter-striking, all from like boxing range, but more with like hooks, uppercut range. And that's where Pat Curran really thrives. This one's interesting though, because I know Patricio has other things in his skill set. He can definitely kick. He's good knees. He can use offensive takedowns more, and he's just naturally more aggressive. So this one's really hard for me to call. Also, like I know that with Pat Curran, you know, he was going through some tough times apparently when he lost to Strauss. He had that really nice win in the third fight against Strauss, but if I'm not mistaken, I want to say he may have been losing on the scorecards there. So, not 100% sure though. I remember it was a pretty close fight overall. I'm actually gonna go with Patricio Pitbull Freire to win this one. I picked Pat Curran last time. That's the thing. I think I picked Pat Curran to beat down Strauss actually too in their third fight. So I've been pretty good about picking Pat Curran right. Save the second time that he lost against second fight he had against Daniel Strauss where he lost. Otherwise, I want to say that I'm expecting to see a couple more tools used by Freire in this fight coming up. Hopefully he'll mix in takedowns to keep Curran honest and whatnot, and just use more kicks and whatnot. Gonna go Patricio Pitbull Freire for the win here. Tough to say, honestly. Like I said, I picked Pat Curran the first time and he did win. It should be a close fight because, man, these two are really good featherweights. I mean, I think they can be top 10 featherweights in the UFC, to be perfectly honest with you. So it's tough to say. Not super common, I would say it's 50-50 almost, actually. As far as this goes, I don't really feel that Pat Curran has an overwhelming advantage over Patricio Pitbull. But by the same token, I don't think Patricio Pitbull has any type of overwhelming advantage over Pat Curran as well. But this time, I don't know. I want to think that this fight's going to be a bit differently. He's not going to always fight in Pat Curran's wheelhouse. And go with Patricio Pitbull Freire to win this one. Next fight after that, Dustin Jacoby fights Muhammed Kingmo Lawal. Well, Jacoby, he's taking this fight on short notice. I believe this was the third opponent for Kingmo. I know before this was Marcus Souza, and before that, I forgot who it was. Someone was fought in Bellator before. I just forgot who it is. Oh, Jiu-Jitsu guy. This one Jiu-Jitsu guy whose name absolutely escapes me right now. Well, Jacoby has a 10-3 record with 8 wins by KO or TKO, 1 win by sub. He's 26 years old. Didn't realize how tall he was, man. He's 6'4". He's on a 2-fight win streak. He has some good kickboxing. I believe he's actually been fighting some kickboxing bouts very recently too. Kingmo, 12-4 record with 1 no contest, 9 wins by KO or TKO, 3 wins by decision. Has his 2 losses by KO or TKO. 33 years old. Height-wise, he's a lot shorter at 6 foot. Training out of AKA. He is a strong wrestler. Really good ground and pound. His boxing's solid enough. I think a lot of fighters tend to exploit a couple holes in his boxing though, but he does have heavy hands. I gotta go King Mo to win this one. Mainly with the wrestling. I think the height actually, the height difference actually helps King Mo. You know, taller fighter, longer legs. You know, he can really shoot on those legs. You know, and King Mo is one of the best wrestlers out there, really. Yeah, I'll go King Mo to win this one using superior wrestling. Next fight after that, Josh Burns fights Bobby Lashley. Well, Burns has an 8-7 record, 4 wins by KO or TKO, 2 wins by sub. He also has 4 losses by KO or TKO and 3 losses by sub. Very much a guy. I mean, he's only been to decision twice in his MMA career. All of his losses are by finish. So, you know, win or lose, Josh Burns is looking for the finish, in a sense, or gonna get finished. Lashley, 10-2 record, 2 wins by KO or TKO, 5 wins by sub. He's 38 years old on a 3-fight win streak. Trains out of ATT Altitude. There's actually some other notable fighters out of ATT Altitude as well. I totally forgot who they were. He's also the Total Non-Stop Action Wrestling Heavyweight Champion, winning the title from Eric Young. I just had to say it. He is actually a pretty good wrestler, though. His ground and pound is good, but he can get very over aggressive about it. He'll take a guy down, and he's in full guard, and he just starts wailing, and the guy's like blocking punches or something, and he doesn't always have the best cardio to do that. You know, he doesn't always get in the best position to unleash ground and pound. That's always been one of Lashley's biggest problems. Otherwise, though, I think he beats Josh Burns. Takedown, ground and pound for the win. Bobby Lashley for the win there. And the final fight on the main card, we have Cheick Kongo versus Lavar Johnson. Lavar Johnson has an 18-9 record, 16 wins by KO or TKO, 2 wins by sub. So he's a natural finisher. I think some of those subs are actually they may be submission wins by strikes. He also has 2 losses by KO or TKO and 6 losses by submission. He's 37 years old. Not much shorter than Cheick Kongo. Cheick Kongo 6'4", Lavar Johnson 6'3". It's not like a huge height advantage for any one fighter here. Lavar Johnson's got some really heavy hands. He's got some one-punch KO power. His boxing is actually pretty good. He's not, I mean, he is kind of a brawler, but, you know, I'll see him utilize a jab. But sometimes I'll see him just kind of bite his mouthpiece, go forward, and just start throwing haymakers. So he does tend to brawl a couple times. His grappling's not very good, and he's super weak off his back. I mean, like, he looks like he just doesn't know what to do off his back sometimes. He does have the natural strength and athleticism to kind of get up off of his back in like non-technical ways. But otherwise, yeah, he's not good off his back at all. Kongo, 21-9 record with 2 draws, 12 wins by KO or TKO, 3 wins by sub. He also has 3 losses by KO or TKO. 39 years old. Like I said, he's 6'4". He's got some good stand-up, some really strong knees actually, and he has a good clinch. His offensive takedowns are actually improving, especially when he gets guys up against the cage and he tries to get the takedown from there. Takedown defense is actually improving as well. He's not super easy to take down, stout enough, but he's also very weak off his back, and I do feel that his chin has been greatly deteriorating. This one's hard for me to call. On the feet, I gotta go with Lavar Johnson, just with the power. It's not that Cheick Kongo can't do anything on the feet or anything. He's good there. But I can also see Kongo utilizing the clinch, pushing Lavar Johnson up against a cage, and possibly winning a grinding decision if need be. And that's a style that Kongo's been using for a while. You know what, though? I'm going to go to Lavar Johnson for the win. I think that somewhere in the fight, he'll be able to touch Kongo's chin. And with a guy with the power of Lavar Johnson, don't want that happening. He can turn his opponent's lights off pretty quickly. Lavar Johnson for the win there. Okay, on to the prelims. I'll say right now that there are a couple fighters here. Well, some are making like the pro MMA debuts and stuff, so I'm not familiar with a lot of some of these fighters. So I'll tell you which ones. Rico DiSciullo fights Marvin Maldonado. Actually, I don't know much about these guys. I know with Rico, he has a 2-0 record with 1 no contest. I'm sure I've actually seen his fights. It's just I don't remember it because he did fight against Maldonado back in February 2014, and there was a no contest. I think it was knee to the head of grounded opponent or something like that. Rico, like I said, 2-0, undefeated record with 1 no contest, 1 win by KO, 1 win by decision, and he trains out of Team Sityodtong. Another notable guy that's Sityodtong was really at its height at one time when I remember when Cote, Marcus Davis, Kenny Florian, they're all training at Sityodtong. And then, after a while, no one's training on Team Sityodtong, or you don't hear about it too much. Lately, they've been coming back to prominence. One notable fighter trains on the Sityodtong, though, Rob Font. Good fighter there, good stand-up, Marvin Maldonado, 2-1 record with 1 no contest, 1 win by TKO, 1 win by sub. I'm going to go with Rico DiSciullo to win that one. Next fight after that, Steve Garcia fights Kin Moy. Kin Moy has a 5-0 undefeated record, 1 win by TKO, 3 wins by sub. Steve Garcia, 4-0 undefeated record with all 4 wins being by KO or TKO. He's 22 years old, and he has that notable win over Sean Bunch, who was a pretty hyped prospect, with all of those wrestling credentials. And Garcia managed to beat him by TKO, if I'm not mistaken. In his last fight, he had a pretty sloppy fight, actually. His stand-up technique needs a lot of work. But the guy hits hard. I mean, that's the thing. And he's still young. He's got power in his hands, but not the best technique. Decent wrestling as well. I gotta go Steve Garcia to win that one. Next fight after that, Josh Diekmann fights Mike Wessel. Well, Diekmann has a 14-5 record with 1 no contest, 10 wins by KO or TKO, 4 wins by sub. He also has 3 losses by submission. He's 37 years old, and he is a finisher. Mike Wessel, 14-7 record, 8 wins by KO or TKO, 1 win by sub. He also has 6 losses by submission. He's 36 years old. It's tough to say with Wessel. He's actually fought some really good guys, from Anthony Hardonk. Some decent guys too, He beat Ryan Martinez in Bellator, lost to Rich Hale. So, he's a really game opponent in a sense. I'm going to go with Mike Wessel to win that one. Next fight after that, and a really good fight here actually, especially for a prelim. Tamdan, the Barn Cat McCrory, makes his MMA return as he fights the Irish bad boy Brennan Ward. Brennan Ward has a 9-2 record, 6 wins by KO or TKO, 2 wins by sub. He also has 2 losses by submission. 26 years old. He's not a very tall middleweight. McCrory's 6'4", and Brennan Ward's 5'10", but he's Ward's pretty ripped, He has some good stand-up, particularly his boxing's good. He's a pretty aggressive guy with really heavy hands. Actually beat Mikel Parlo, who's notorious for being very defensively sound, and he managed to TKO him. Most recently losing to Alexander Shlemenko, though. Ward is a good wrestler as well. Tamdan McCrory, 11-3 record, 6 wins by KO or TKO, 4 wins by sub. He also has 2 losses by submission. He's 27 years old, and like I said, he's 6'4". He's trading wins and losses, with his last fight being the loss to John Howard. And that fight was back in August 2009. He does have some solid Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu skills. He's Top control is good as well. He's a decent wrestler. Decent enough stand-up, you know. But this is a tough fight to come back into MMA, you know. I mean, what, 5 year... you know, it's kind of funny with Tamdan McCrory, too. He's only 27. It's kind of crazy to think that how young he was when he was fighting the UFC. The guy can actually still make a run in MMA and do well. I don't think the guy's really in his prime yet. So, but he's on Brennan Ward. Brennan Ward's really good. I would actually almost consider Ward like a blue chip prospect for middleweight. Almost. I think the loss to Flamenco kind of showed. Still needs some seasoning. Otherwise, Brennan Ward, good solid fighter, good prospect. Gotta go Brennan Ward here for the win. Next fight after that, Perry Filkins fights Dan Cramer. Well, Perry Filkins has an 8-1 record, 6 wins by KO or TKO, 1 win by sub. 26 years old on a 6-fight win streak. He's got some good stand-up. His takedown defense isn't the greatest. He does have good counter wrestling. You know, he's good at getting back to his feet when he's taken down. I remember the Jeremy Kimmel fight. He lost the first round. Kind of got outstruck actually. Kimmel was also taking him down pretty effortlessly for a while. Filkins managed to get top control on him in the second and third round though of their fight. But otherwise, he's fighting a good wrestler in Dan Cramer. 10-4 record, 2 wins by KO or TKO, 8 wins by decision. Also has 2 losses by KO or TKO. 28 years old, training out of ATT. And like I said with Cramer, he's a good wrestler with good top control. Gotta go Dan Cramer to win with superior wrestling. Next fight after that, Mark Griffin fights Mike Mucitelli. I actually don't know much about Griffin. I do know with Mucitelli. He got knocked out in his last fight against Lee McGarry. But Mucitelli has a 6-1 record with 1 no contest, 1 win by TKO, 4 wins by sub. He's 30 years old. Really tall for the weight class. He's 6'5". He's got some good Brazilian jiu-jitsu skills. That's where his strength is. He's not much of a striker, but his ground game is pretty good. Griffin has a 5-3 record with 1 draw, but all 5 wins were by KO or TKO. As has 2 losses by KO or TKO. Not as tall as Mucitelli. He's 6'2". But, I gotta go with Mucitelli to win this one. I think he'll be able to get the fight to the ground and use his superior Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for the win. Next fight after that, I don't know anything about these guys, as Pete Rogers fights Philip Martins. Or is it Felipe Martins? I'm not too sure. Pete Rogers has a 1-1 record with 1 TKO. It's 1 win being a TKO. He's never actually been past the first round. Martins has no pro MMA bouts. And is 0-1 as an amateur. Coin flip, total coin flip here. Phillipe Martins. I don't know. I don't know those guys. Just can't say much. Total coin flip there. Okay, next fight of that, Brandon Fleming fights Blair Tugman. Fleming has a 4-2 record, 1 win by TKO, 1 win by sub. He's 23 years old on a 2-fight win streak. I want to say like his only losses are to like some pretty good fighters. I want to say it's like, jeez, I forgot who it was. I forgot who they were, but like he's only lost 2 losses are to like pretty decent guys. Blair Tugman has a 5-5 record with 3 subs, 2 decisions. He's on a 2-fight losing streak, and he's only won 1 of his last 5 fights actually. So I'm gonna go with Brandon Fleming for the win there. Next fight after that, Lucas Cruz fights Andrew Calandrelli. Lucas Cruz has a 7-2 record with 2 wins by KO or TKO, 4 wins by sub. Calandrelli, 6 wins by KO or TKO. He has a 6-4 record with 4 wins by submission and 2 wins by decision. He's got some good ground skills actually. Overall though, I'll go with Lucas Cruz to win that one. Honestly, I don't know too much about those guys. I've seen Calandrelli fight. It's a blur though. I know he's fought in Bellator before. Totally forgot his fights. That's the thing. So it's kind of a pick and fight. I'm going with Lucas Cruz for that one. And finally, Matt Bessette fights Scott Cleve. Matt Bessette, 13-5 record, 2 wins by KO TKO, 4 wins by sub. Yeah, he's 29 years old. Solid stand-up skills, good on the ground. Has a really notable victory over Diego Nunes. Lost his last fight against Daniel Weichel. He got taken down a lot. Kind of grinded upon, actually. Scott Cleve, 14-4 record, 9 wins by KO TKO, 2 wins by sub. He also has 2 losses by submission, 32 years old. Had some solid stand-up skills, actually. Interestingly enough, I believe his last loss, or one of his most recent losses, was also to Daniel Weichel. I want to say he got knocked out, actually, in that fight, if I'm not mistaken. Tough one for me to call. These guys are actually not too bad. I'll go with Matt Bessette. He has this gameness to him and whatnot. I'll go Matt Bessette for the win there. Okay, to recap the main card, I have Patricio Pitbull Freire over Pat Curran, Muhammed Lawal beating Dustin Jacoby, Bobby Lashley over Josh Burns, and Lavar Johnson over Cheick Kongo. On the prelims, I have Rico DiSciullo over Marvin Maldonado, Steve Garcia beating Ken Moy, Mike Wessel over Josh Diekmann, Brennan Ward over Tamdan McCrory, Dan Cramer beating Perry Filkins, Mike Mucitelli over Mark Griffin, Phillipe Martins over Pete Rogers, Brendan Fleming beating Blair Tugman, Lucas Cruz over Andrew Calandrelli, and Matt Bessette over Scott Cleve. So that's it for my predictions for Bellator 123, Curran versus Pitbull 2. If you have any comments, just leave them below. And that's it for MMA for you. Thank you guys very much.